distributor. Victor?
Victor Korsha, a company called Uptime Business Products out of Roanoke. We do technology, furnishings, and computer peripherals. Sell to healthcare, government, educational institutions. Kind of runs the gamut, pretty broad array of products.
Hi, I'm Adele Carlos, and I'm with Porta Pharma. We are a startup pharmaceutical company, and we have a pain for arthritis cream to alleviate arthritis pain, and we're working to take that to market. So that's kind of where we're at. We're also interested in people that do have arthritis, osteoarthritis, because we're doing an interview of a customer base, trying to determine more about some directioning on the product. So if you have arthritis or know somebody with arthritis, that would be a good contact.
Does it work on tendonitis? Does it work on tendonitis?
It's not documented for that, but a lot of times.
All right, we'll talk later on tennis players. Oh, sure, Mel, okay.
Hi everyone.
Annie, you're next.
My name is Hania Michel. I am an electrical engineer. The company I work at is called Cell Inc. And it's basically a company that, it's a startup. It started 3 years ago. It grew very fast, and basically it builds 3D bioprinters and biolinks. And the long-term goal, not yet, is to build like human organs to replace donors. Yeah.
Eric Gattenholm?
Yes.
My name is Anna Goltz. I am here from the Regional Food Bank, Feeding America, Southwest Virginia. Our role is to locate and procure food across 26 counties of Southwest Virginia and distribute it through local partners like Blacksburg Interfaith. My task, or my title, too much title, is Annual Fund and Corporate Relations Officer.
Good morning, I'm Scott Weimer. I'm with Virginia Tech's Outreach and International Affairs Office. We do a lot of individual programs across Virginia, really globally as well, and always look at individually marketing and promoting those programs.
I'm Jared Newman. I'm with Novozymes. We have half the world's enzyme market and half the world's industrial microorganism market. I'm in their biologicals section, and within that, with the bio-ag section. And then within that, I'm one of the 2 entomologists. So I work with microorganisms that are sort of alternatives to chemical insecticides. I guess we're a sister company to Novo Nordisk, which we do pharma. And I think I got my PhD program that came maybe through you. YRD.
Same office.
Okay, no Larry Vaughn.
Yeah.
He wrote the grant over my PhD.
Yeah,
So those are the 2 ties I had. And I think that we support your group. So there's 3 ties. Okay. That's okay. So.
Well, he's connected.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm John Phillips, and I'm the new president of the RBTC, and so I'm here to serve you. And I appreciate very much everybody coming out on an early morning like this. I do have to pick on Mike a little bit because he said nobody wants donuts. I said, I'll bring donuts. He said, no, nobody wants. I said, I've never seen anybody turn down Carol Lee donuts. I think I've proved it again. So thank you all for being here.
Mike, you lied.
Never. No, never get caught.
Good morning, Peter Sforzo, Director at the Virginia Tech Center for Geospatial and Information Technology. Also working on a spin-off. More to say about that soon.
Tell us more.
No. Top secret.
My name is Alan. I teach, train, and coach negotiation. I work with professionals and small businesses. Some of them can go up to $7 billion. I actually worked with Eric when he had a company in Floyd, as a startup in Floyd. So I help them with strategic partnerships, sales, negotiating deals. Hi, Joy. How you doing?
Hi, thank you.
So, I'm Dave Abraham, and I have 2 bicycle stores, and so it's a kind of a, I make jokes, tours don't go together by business. So I'm trying to scale it to where I don't have to be over everything all the time, personally.
My name is Sarah Phillips. I'm actually with the RBTC and grant. I'm currently the AmeriCorps 4 grant, but I also help out with RBTC events and things.
And last and the least, I am
Not
Joy.
least.
Yes.
But not,
Yeah, Joy Vidori. I am the Dean of the Business School at Radford University, Davis College of Business and Economics, and it's good to be here at this Business Development Forum. I try and attend as many RBTC events as I can. Forums like these, network associations like these are what makes a region tick.
glad to have Radford represented here, so it's a good little relationship that we have. All right, so without further ado, the amazingly incredible clinic.
Thanks, Mike. Morning, everybody. Hope you guys are all enjoying the coffee and donuts. I think they kind of buried the lead with this. It should have been Carol Jean Lee Donuts, you know, sponsors. Nichols. Would have gotten me here anyway. So, 10 seconds. That's how long your website has to earn the attention of your visitor. Are they going to hit the back button? They're going to go back to the next result in their Google search. In fact, about 40% on average of visitors to most websites are just going to leave immediately without taking any kind of action. They're just gone. And think about that when you've been to a website and you go, oh, this is, I can't even tell what this is. And you leave. Do you ever find yourself thinking 2 days later, oh, maybe I'll go back to that website. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe it have what I wanted. So yeah, so 40% typically leave, 60% stay around and engage with the site a little bit. By the way, feel free to take pictures of the slides. I won't be posting them online because I keep changing them. So you're welcome to take pictures. So your website is so much more than a brochure. It should attract and engage visitors to increase your profits. So what we want to do is we want to get more visitors, but more importantly, we want each of them to engage more with that site so that we're going to get more profits. Now, one way to look, so today I'm going to be talking about basically what I call a brochure site, which is, and I'll talk more about that, but it's what I've found is a lot of websites I've looked at, they look like they're designed by somebody who's doing a brochure, and they're not thinking about it in terms of how websites get designed. And there'll be a lot more detail in this. This is the boring part, but feel free to take a picture. So we'll talk about user experience and why that matters, what it is and why it matters, why websites are often ineffective. When I talk about a brochure website, I'm talking about an ineffective website. Making your site sell better, how to test your website to make sure that we know it is selling as well as you think it is. It's amazing how many people put up a website and you say, great, well, what are your numbers? And you say, well, they're great. Where are they? Oh, we don't have numbers. And that's fine, it's understandable, but we can test really easy. And then also a little bit on increasing your marketing reach using LinkedIn. And then I have a gift for everybody at the end. Okay, so let's talk about a brochure page. So here are some statistics from an actual page I worked on. So these are all monthly statistics. So we had this website before I designed it, had about 2,800 visitors. 1,200 of them, over 1,200 left immediately. So these are the statistics going back about a year. I averaged them monthly. About 1,600 stuck around. About 126 made it to the purchase page. Okay. So this is what your website looks like when it's just a brochure site. It's not effective and engaging. Okay, let's take a look now at what happened after I redesigned it. So again, we had about 2,800 people visiting. Only 664 left. That left about over 2,100 engaging with the site. 172 made it to the purchase page. Question, Alan?
Yes, question. Essentially, doesn't everyone who visits your website leave?
They do eventually, but that's like saying I have a jewelry store. Everybody's eventually going to leave. I would like them to leave after they visit the cash register. Yeah.
Are you measuring how soon they leave? Like, is it?
Exactly. When I say leave, I mean the technical term is bounce. That means they leave without visiting, but without engaging with the site. So that means from the site's perspective, we can look at the analytics. Typically, it means they stayed about 10 seconds. They could have stayed a little bit longer, but more importantly, we know they didn't engage. They didn't click on anything, and they left immediately. Left your entire site after only looking at that one page. Good question. Thank you, Alan. Anybody have, is that clear to everybody? Raise your hand. Who is that not clear for? Okay, you got to answer one of these. Who is that? Raise your hand if you understood that. Okay. I will explain it for an hour if necessary, but I don't want to bore you. So getting back here, so after the redesign, we ended up having 172, not only obviously stuck around on the home page, but made it all the way to the purchase page. So presumably 172 out of that 2,800 wanted to buy something, because visiting the purchase page is a pretty strong intent that they're buying. And so looking comparatively, we can see that we reduced the number that just bounced immediately, left immediately, by more than half. So we saved more than half of them. We had 3 times as much engagement, so we measure that by how much time each person spent on the page. So not only did we keep more people around, but even the people who would have left before stayed around so long that everybody, on average, spent 3 times as much time on that page. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Just exercising your hands.
I'm touching, I'm sorry.
So then we ended up with 36% more people visiting the purchase page, and the ultimate goal here is to make more money, and we had a 30% increase in sales, which is not surprising considering how many more people made it to the purchase page. So your website is so much more than a brochure. It should be engaging and attracting visitors so we can increase your profits, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's talk a little bit about user experience design first, take a step back. I wear a lot of hats. My favorite hat, I do engineering, I do sales, I do marketing. My favorite hat is user experience design. And basically user experience design, or UX design, is ensuring that your user has the experience you wanted them to have. How many people saw the signs on the wall when you came in today? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. Now that's something I added because I wanted to make sure everybody could actually find the location, because I had a hard time finding it yesterday. Lots of different rooms. This room doesn't seem to be on the board outside because it's probably because it's nobody's office. So in the movie, so who's ever had a bad experience with technology where you're trying to find, you know, use a website, use a banking site, or just technology? Raise your hand if you had a go. Anybody want to tell me about, complain about one of your experiences? Well, trust me, I'll complain about mine. So in the movies, for example, nobody's ever frustrated by how to use the computer on the holodeck in Star Trek. Nobody ever accidentally turns on their lightsaber and cuts off their foot. Right? In the movies, it works the way we'd like it to work. And ironically, oftentimes when we're frustrated by technology, we blame ourselves. I'm such an idiot. And the reality is, if 8 out of 10 people have that mistake or have that problem, maybe we should be fixing the technology. Okay, so here's some examples of, again, UX, user experience fails. Let me know when you spot the problem. Yeah, and I mean, there's so many problems with this. Now, any kind of problem we spot is going to have basically 2 qualities. How significant is the problem? Is it a showstopper? Oh my gosh, I can't even use this. Might be the case here. And how hard is it to fix? Right? This would be an example of something very difficult to fix. Now, a lot of times people say, we'll just bring in the UX people at the end. They'll put some labels on it. We'll figure it out. Right? And this is what you get when that happens. So here's an example of very difficult to fix. Probably pretty significant problem, although I would watch people. And maybe they figure it out. It would just be frustrating. You may also find you have 10 cars lined up to get out of the parking garage all the time. So let's take a look at another example. Raise your hand when you figure out what the problem is. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I showed it to somebody. He said, that must be Photoshopped. And I said, I think what happened is they probably built the curb first. I don't know why. And then told somebody, put 5 handicap labels out there. And they were like, well, I guess I'll put one here. Sometimes fail isn't quite so obvious. Raise your hand when you see it. Okay. All right. This one, I think the sign is just in the wrong place. But again, it's a sign problem. Okay, this one's a little tricky. Maybe if that was Plastic Man, yeah, or Elastigirl. And you can actually measure those bricks, by the way. I have a friend in construction, and he's like looking at the bricks in the back. Those are 16 inches. Me, I'm just like, you know, engineers. That's an order of magnitude, it's close enough. I measured these. figured those were 6 inches. He said, I know these are 16. So who wants to reach that far for toilet paper? Okay. So, in communication, the bottom line is communication is difficult. Let's look at another example. And here's one we know people spent a lot of money on. So this is from a vehicle, pretty nice vehicle. I'm guessing this vehicle is at least 30 grand. I know that there's probably one guy just assigned to make that icon. Can anybody, what do you think that button would do? Ejection seat, oil slick, anyone?
Just try to lighten back the truck.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, my guess was actually launch the octopus.
Yeah.
But Jared's smarter than I am. Okay, so
what does it do?
Oh, it turns on the light in the back. I'm assuming that it turns on the light in the back of the truck.
Okay.
But I actually don't know because I couldn't find it. So do we need better user experience? I think I've demonstrated a little bit about where we definitely have some problems with that. I actually just went to the ER about 2 weeks ago, hiking with my daughter, ended up getting a kidney stone. Those two are not related, just coincidence. I get there and I'm like, my friend brings me, I come into the ER. There's no, I don't know if you've been to the ER down the street recently. There's no humans in the ER, in the waiting room. There's just a kiosk and sick people. Other people all groaning and incapacitated. So I go in, I'm about a 9 on the pain scale. Who's ever had a kidney stone?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Women who have had them,
10.
yes, women who have had them say it's worse than childbirth. It's like delivering a watermelon wrapped in barbed wire. It's literally all these little points. And when you see it, it's tiny. You know, you're like, that really was the pain? So I get there, I'm at a 9 on the pain scale, and I go in, and there's a kiosk, and I'm like, I can barely read at this point. And they're like, put your ID, first of all, I'm not even sure where to go, because I'm like, it's not sort of really obvious, and I'm like, oh, maybe I need to go to this kiosk. I look at it, and it's like, put your ID in. I'm like, ID? What is ID? Oh, driver's license. I'm trying to find my driver. I put it in, and by this point, I'm about to pass out, and it's not